Hey everyone, welcome back to Forloveness. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Ryan.
How are you today?
I'm pretty good. I'm actually in a fast right now, so I'm getting a little fatigued today.
Yeah, it's your first day though, right?
It is my first day. I'm not quite 24 hours in, actually.
I'm sad I'm not going to be able to partake in this fast with you. I'm going out of town.
Yeah, this is going to be one of my longer ones that I've ever done, actually.
Your longest, huh?
Yes, it'll be over 90 hours, closer to 96 hours, I believe.
How do you feel about that?
I feel good, excited. This is be my, fourth fast in the last, 6 months or so.
I noticed last time that I fasted, by the end of it, I felt so close to God.
Yes, especially if you're doing a fast, like a spiritual fast like this is, it becomes a lot easier to hear God and a lot easier to understand what he's saying as opposed to getting in the way with your own thoughts or the enemy getting in.
It kind of takes everything else out, right? And only leaves room for him and his word.
For me, it does. At least that's my experience, and others that I know that have done this is the same way.
Yeah.
You have a trip coming up that is spiritually difficult, and that's part of why this fast is occurring. I prayed this morning and sort of heard that this is what needed to happen to protect you and kind of keep you strong during that. So since I can't be with you in person, I'm going to be with you in spirit this week.
Thank you. What are we talking about today?
We're talking about forgiveness not being permission. And what that means is basically we talked in the last episode about an unforgiving heart is an unforgiven heart. And that if we are not forgiving people the way that we were forgiven, our salvation is
in question.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, not that we can lose it. It's that we never actually had it if we still hold on to these things.
Yeah, I think that's an important distinction.
And this is not likely going to be the longest episode, the longest lesson, but it's an important one because forgiving people is more something for you. It's a transaction of your heart. It's, an internal act of grace mirroring God's forgiveness for you. But trust and reconciliation is between you and the person that hurt you. So it's a whole different thing. I think it was important when I was getting all this stuff downloaded from God. This was one thing that came, and I struggled a little bit with it because it makes sense to me, but I know that it doesn't make sense to everyone. And I think people can even use this as a weapon. It has been used as a weapon in certain abusive type of relationships to silence a victim, or people get confused. Well, I have to forgive. If that doesn't mean forgetting and leaving yourself in a bad situation.
Yeah, I mean, you still have to protect yourself and protect your heart. One of my favorite verses actually is Proverbs 4:23, and it says, "Keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life." And basically what that is saying is that you still have to guard your heart, and forgiving someone doesn't always mean that you allow them to keep hurting you, right?
For sure. Forgiveness and trust are two completely different things. One's about canceling that debt, but it's more for you.
Right.
We're called to forgive, but we are not called to stay in a bad situation. One is God-given command, and one is more about wisdom.
Yeah.
He doesn't want us to be hurt. Can you read Proverbs 22:3 for me?
Yeah.
Talks about prudence.
That says, "The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty."
Yeah, so that's saying you still need to forgive, but be wise and don't enable the sin, don't ignore the danger.
It's very clear right there that it's saying, boundaries are okay. You don't need to force reconciliation, especially if they're unrepentant.
Absolutely. Forgiving is just Christ-like grace, and the second is Christ-like wisdom. One does not negate the other, for sure.
And there's also the times that you have to think about safety. It's a big thing, especially for the people that are in unsafe relationships. Just because you forgive them doesn't mean you need to stay with that person. It doesn't mean that you need to continue to talk to that person.
Yeah, and this has been used as a weapon to keep people in abusive situations, silencing victims, and especially someone that is new to Christianity, that has been in these bad situations and they're really looking for peace in their life, someone to help them. They feel they have to forgive live and let live and move forward and stay
Right.
in that relationship because they think they love them. And maybe they do, but God still makes it clear we are to protect ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And people use this to distort the gospel, and that's not what it's supposed to be for.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have this saying that is all just pounded in our heads, forgive and forget, right? But in reality, that's not what we should be doing at all.
Correct. Like I said, they're two completely different transactions.
And we talk about forgiveness and reconciliation and how those are completely two different things. Forgiveness happens in your heart. And you had said earlier that reconciliation is about building that trust and rebuilding that relationship with them. First and foremost, I mean, you should always go to God, right?
Yes.
You should always go to Him, reflect on the relationship, pray about it. If you feel that it's right, then go to that person and you can start to rebuild that trust. As long as they're repentant, though, right? Do you think remembering can sometimes actually protect us?
Yeah, they're matters of wisdom and practice, okay? They're external actions to prevent further harm. That's why we are able to remember. Even when we forgive, that does not mean we should forget. Okay, this keeps us from enabling the sin and ignoring the danger.
And we can learn from that too, right?
Certainly. Let's look at Luke 17:3. Can you read that for me real fast?
Yes, Luke 17:3 says, if your brother or sister sins against you, rebuke them, and if they repent, forgive them.
That process involves confronting the sin and then linking the full relational reconciliation to repentance. So while we've been saying forgiving doesn't mean we have to forget, if someone is truly repentant, like they're saying here, if they're really feeling it in their heart, truly, then mend that relationship again.
Right.
It's okay to do that. Just because someone hurt you doesn't mean you have to never see them again or talk to them again or cut them out of your life. There's plenty of examples that we all do in our own life every week.
And I think that if that person is truly repentant, then there's going to be some change happening in them.
Absolutely. Forgiveness is something that we grant inwardly. It's for us. But trust is rebuilt through that demonstrated change that you're talking about.
You know, and that doesn't mean that you don't still have to set boundaries. You can rebuild a relationship while also having some boundaries at the same time too, you know?
Yeah, you have to be wise. You don't enable the sin. You require that repentance for reconciliation, but enact consequences for your protection. And it may be that you just take a step back from someone or that you aren't as good of friends with someone as you thought you were because they did something to hurt you. And you still love them and care about them and want to spend time with them, but that trust needs to be rebuilt.
Yeah.
And as in any relationship, trust needs to be rebuilt usually with time.
Yeah. I mean, I know we talk about Matthew 10:16 a lot. Do you want to read that?
Yeah, that's a good one. We actually talked about that yesterday. It says, I'm sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore, be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves. Shrewd just meaning prudent, which we talked about, discerning and practical. Protecting yourself and your loved ones from harm is a God-given responsibility. Forgiving a thief doesn't mean you give them the keys to your house.
Right. Yeah. And I think that should really be freeing, knowing that you can truly forgive someone from your heart, not commit that sin yourself of not forgiving, releasing that anger to God, but also saying, okay, I'm going to set boundaries. I'm going to stay safe. And we're either going to practically rebuild trust and slowly rebuild a relationship, or I cannot have a relationship with you.
Absolutely. This is your freedom. Right? It's when you forgive, you're stopping that poison of bitterness in your soul from just rotting there. And it releases you. And it's an exhausting job of being a judge and jury anyways. Forgiveness is about your past. It's refusing to let what someone did to you continue to live in you.
That's a really good way of putting it, actually. And I think it's important that we recognize that it's two things here that we're talking about. A heart of mercy that forgives, but then also a mind of wisdom that protects.
This is where the freedom is, right? We forgive, like you said, canceling that debt. But it's not the same as approving someone for a new line of credit. And then that kind of brings us full circle to the trust. When you trust someone, you're handing them something valuable, right? Your vulnerability, your heart, your safety, your secrets, and then believing they're going to handle it with care.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is that gift you give because of what God has done for you.
Yes.
Trust is the wage they have to earn based on what they have done.
Yeah. So what would you say to somebody who may not know what setting those boundaries look like, or may not be able to set those boundaries? Somebody that maybe works with somebody who is hurting them spiritually or emotionally and can't exactly just cut off a relationship.
They have to see them every day,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. Well, you can't foolishly trust someone like that.
Yeah.
You have to first, obviously, as always, pray, get into worship, give it to God, ask for his guidance.
Mm-hmm.
And he will more often than not give you that guidance. But you still have to be prudent, still have to guard yourself.
Yeah.
Jesus had a habit of kindness and turning the other cheek. And he doesn't mean really turning the other cheek to let someone hurt you. He just means sort of taking that power away from them and understanding that they have something going on in their life that is causing this behavior. And he would show them kindness. If they weren't, if they did not receive that, he was okay with it. He would just continue on with his day. You can't let people walk all over you, but that doesn't mean you should engage in their activity. Setting boundaries, setting healthy boundaries could mean, if you're talking about work, it could mean honestly asking for a transfer. It could mean having to go to HR. God put these systems in place for this type of thing. If you're talking about a relationship or maybe a spouse where there's children involved, you have to do the best that you can for them. And more often than not, someone or both people in that relationship, the adults in that relationship, are not always going to act right. Sometimes they're going to be hurt or bitter. They need to forgive, but if they're not in the gospel, they're not likely to do that. So that's where your job is, to forgive them and release them of that judgment from you, but you don't have to let them back in to hurt you in that way. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, that was great. And I think the key takeaway from that is taking it to God and praying. And the more time you spend with him, the clearer you're going to be able to hear him.
Yeah. And if you're in a situation like that where it is just impossible, it doesn't mean you have to let them in fully. You can rebuild this relationship to where you can trust them in certain aspects very carefully and wisely, but you don't have to let them completely back in.
Give them as many opportunities to hurt you.
Right. That's just treating them how to treat you. And if you allow someone to constantly be wronging you, they're going to continue to wrong you. It's almost as if they can't help it.
Right.
So hopefully, if you treat them with kindness and you have forgiven them and you build that relationship back slowly over time, potentially they can prove that they're a safe investment again, and you can give them a little bit more and a little bit more. Doesn't mean that you will, and you certainly don't have to. Really, the main lesson in this is you have to forgive, but you don't have to forget, and you do not have to reconcile with someone if you don't want to. But if you need to, there's ways to do that safely, healthy,
respectfully,
biblically, for sure. And that helps us to move on. So we're called to forgive, but we're not required to reconcile at all. Yeah. And I know this is a short sort of episode that we have here, but I toyed with combining it, but I prayed really hard on it, and God wanted me to make sure that this came out separately as we go, as the series continues. This particular lesson is going to get extremely important. Yes. We still are going to be commanded to forgive some very difficult things that we're going to discuss. But we are not going to be required to forget them.
Yes, I think
that's a slippery slope depending on the situation for you. Because if you're remembering things, are you even able to forgive? But you are. If you're a good Christian, you stay in the Word, you pray.
Give it to God.
He knows if you're truly repentant or not, if you truly are forgiving or not. He knows. You can say the words all you want, but he actually knows what really is going on. So that's why I did this as a standalone episode, because I didn't want it to get lost in the other messages. And I was afraid that it would. So yes, it's short, but it's possibly one of the most important lessons in the entire series.
Yeah, it's very important. And I'm glad that we got to talk about it today. Thank you so much for being here today.
You want to talk about next week at all?
Next week's going to be good. Next week, we're going to be talking about forgiving yourself.
Yes, forgiving yourself under the cross is what we named it. It is very powerful. It's my favorite one so far because of the personal connection that I had. And this is actually where this entire thing started.
It's a good one. Definitely don't want to miss it. Thank you so much for being here today, everyone. God bless.